Welcome everybody, this is Edgardo, Balentine.
And this is Scott DiGregorio, and welcome to the Real Estate of Tomorrow podcast, where we're going to discuss the rapidly changing landscape of the real estate industry.
And the steps that you need to take today in order to survive tomorrow.
Look, I'm going to give you the perspective of a 25-year veteran, somebody who has been there and done that.
Which is a slime for all fart, okay?
That's for you, man.
Look, I'm going to give you a fresh perspective from somebody that's applying those steps today.
So that basically means you're young and you don't know shit.
All right, let's get this started. Welcome everybody to the Real Estate of Tomorrow podcast. This is Edgardo Balentine and I'm here with
Scott DiGregorio. What's up?
What's going on, my friend?
Nothing much, man. We got 2020's rolling along.
2020 is rolling along. Big projects this year. Big projects this year.
Overwhelming, man. I know we were talking about it before we started recording. There's a lot of crap. And the good news is, though, from a podcast standpoint, all that crap is going to turn into content.
It's a lot of stuff we're going to share, and we're going to share our successes and,
and failures.
Some of the failures, too, which are sometimes you learn more from those ones than you learn from the success. So
I keep telling myself that. I'm hoping it makes the failures a little bit easier to digest. But, dude, we're talking about a topic today that, look, you know, right? When you came into the business, I talked to you extensively about this.
And I didn't pay attention. And look, we're talking about a CRM today.
Yes.
The importance of having a CRM and, you know, like everything in the podcast, not just the importance of having one, but how to use one to be successful in real estate tomorrow, not just today.
Yeah.
And before you start, I know you're super passionate about this topic. Let me tell you, personally, when I started in the business, I thought that this was just a newsletter tool. I don't know if you remember.
I do remember. I would make fun of it a lot.
Well, I would make fun of you old people because I would say nobody needs a newsletter today. Nobody cares what the latest recipe for a turkey is. Forget about it. I don't need a CRM. And I think I went my whole first year or my whole first and a half year going through that. And then I went to Mastermind. Shout out to Mastermind.
What up?
Which we love. And the emphasis that everybody put on a CRM, not as a new thing or anything like that, but just saying like, if you don't have a CRM, you're stupid. So make sure you use the CRM. So now let me jump into, what you need to know. And I'm like, oh my God, this guy has been right.
I hope as you've gone through your apprenticeship and growth in the business, you realize that I'm certainly not right all the time, but I'm right a lot more than I'm not.
But my point with this is, it's a necessary evil for sure. Not just a necessary evil, but if you have a lot of apprehension with this topic, if you're listening to this and going, whatever, I know a CRM is necessary, just keep listening because it's more than what meets the eye. It's a lot more than what you think, and you have. I think this is going to be interesting because you're going to have your perspective, which is you love this thing, and this is something that you've used for a long time, and you've seen kind of like the CRMs themselves evolve throughout your 100-year life.
World.
And in my end, it's been from being very, very busy, very, very early in my career to using this tool to really help me out, not only save some time, but also continue to grow while saving some time.
Look,
so
when you launched the CRM, I remember you telling me a couple of weeks later that it shaved 10 hours a week off of your work life.
Yes.
10 hours a week.
And
so if you're listening, think about what you would do with an extra 10 hours a week. And by the time we get through the end of this podcast episode, we'll explain to you specifically how to use it, why it's important. It's freaking critical.
10 hours a week and a better customer service, better communication for my partners. I mean, just better. So anyways, I want to set the stage for you.
That's fine. So look, when I got into the business, I used Microsoft Outlook. And
shout out Bill Gates.
I bought a book, a programming book for Outlook 2001, and I literally rewrote the fields and the contact forms, and I turned it into a CRM. And it was less necessary then than it is now. And I think the reason why today, and then moving into tomorrow, why a CRM is no longer optional, but mandatory, is because the buying cycles are so much freaking longer.
Yes. And look, this is an exercise that we started doing with our clients, and I know that's something that you brought up to me about a year ago, and it's take the time and ask your clients just out of curiosity, just to do, just to take like an empirical inventory of your clients and ask them when they come to you how long they've been researching in one capacity or another the possibility of buying a home. And it's years.
3 years is the normal answer I hear from people.
It's years. And if I look at my own life, almost as soon as we moved into the house, my wife was already starting to look at other houses and look at other markets and all these stuff,
Look, big decisions nowadays, people research for years. Before I bought my Tesla, I researched for years. Before I bought my saw-stop table saw, I researched for years. It's just how we work. And that's a car and a table saw. We're talking homes here.
Right. It's not hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And neighborhoods and what childhood are you going to give your children? Like big, heavy shit.
Yeah.
So one of the other reasons that I think a CRM is so critical with those long buying cycles, it enables you to record pertinent details. Look, I don't know about you. My memory sucks.
Yes.
Okay. In college when they said, be careful with that shit, it burns brain cells. As it turns out, it does.
It does.
Who would have thunk it? But anyway, for somebody to call me back a year later, 2 years later, and me pull them up on the CRM and go, yeah, I remember talking to you. Your son Johnny, he playing baseball really well, right? Am I remembering that correctly? Dude, the connection you form there. Look, everybody in today's automated, impersonal world, those little touch points convert transactions.
Yeah, and trust me, for the millennials out there listening, this is something that just Facebook it can supplement, because you can go into Facebook and see it, but it cannot, what's the word I'm looking for?
Replace.
It cannot replace. Facebook cannot replace things like that. Just to have a place where you have all your database, where you can just plug in a name as soon as you see it come in your contact information, and have all their information that you can talk to them as your friend, it's super powerful. It gives better customer service, and it takes the stress away from, oh my God, who is this? And I don't know if you have it, but
all the time.
I used to have it. It was extremely stressful. Somebody will call me, be super friendly, super thankful, and I feel like shit because I don't even know who this person is.
Yeah, and you hurt, and you touched on, you hurt people's feelings when that happens.
Yes, because
and you
impacted them.
Of course. You don't intend to. So look, let's get basic. What is a CRM? Okay,
what's a CRM?
A CRM stands for Customer Relationship Manager, and it's basically, I mean, it could be a lot of things. A CRM started off as nothing more than a holding piece. Okay, when I got into sales, any old school salespeople will remember the index card file. We used to have an index card for each day of the month and each month of the year. And that eventually turned into Excel spreadsheets. Back in the day, Microsoft had a product called Access. They don't have it anymore. That was the first electronic database that I was ever exposed to. There was also something called Lotus back then that I never played with, but it was big. And it was basically a holding pattern, a holding place, and a reminder system. Mm-hmm. Nowadays, it could do everything. It could automate updates. It could do anything you could think of. And I think that it's I think it's critical to whichever one you use to really use it. Okay, so let's talk about some examples.
Okay.
Top Producer is a real estate specific CRM that is very, very popular. And there's others out there as well. Sync is another one. I got to be honest, there's 50 of them, and I'm hesitant to list a lot of names because a great one's going to come out tomorrow.
Right.
Okay, so, use one. Do the research and use one.
I agree, but I don't, look, just those two. Top Producer is one. You're listening to this, you don't know where to start, you're brand new, you just need a freaking name. Top Producer is one, Sync is another one, and if you want more, GOOGLE. Just Google it.
So look, let's talk about the one we use.
Okay.
We use Salesforce.
Right.
Okay.
That's
now
the mortgage specific one.
Right. We use Jungo. which is a mortgage platform built.
Is it Jungo or Jungo?
You know, if you call the company, they call it Jungo.
But they're wrong.
I believe they're wrong. I believe in Brooklynese that shit's Jungo, and that's the way it's sticking with me.
Well, in Spanish it would be Jungo. So
there we go. So, and by the way, Jungo also is for real estate. Okay, it's both
the same Jungo.
Yeah, slight changes.
It's also called Jungo.
It's the same company, yes. Okay, and by the way, the website is ijungo.com. We'll put a link in the show notes. Yeah. But we use Salesforce, and the thing that's amazing about Salesforce, two features of it, but one of it is just ultimate flexibility. You could build Salesforce into any damn thing you want. It has tons of automations built into it. Salesforce is the number one CRM in the world. Having used it exclusively for 5 years now, I understand why. The other thing that's cool about Salesforce is it has its entirely own app store.
Yes.
Where other developers can create products and add-ins and supplements so it's constantly growing.
So it grows as much as you want it to grow. And look, we talked about using the CRM. I think that we particularly use, since you've been doing it for a long time, you've discovered a lot of different characteristics of Salesforce, but we don't use 100% of what it offers. I mean, it's amazing. Sometimes you go into the app store, you play with it, and it's really it's a powerful app store. Now, another thing, and I don't remember if you mentioned it on the first thing, is that it works with everything else. I mean, we've done an episode on videos, we've done an episode on other things, and you can integrate the video platform that you use. You can integrate even social media, you can integrate text, you can integrate calls, you can integrate all of this with Jungo. So everything lives in there. And that's extremely important when we're talking about the real estate of tomorrow, because all of these technologies are coming in and you want to make sure that you can use them along with your CRM.
Right. And being that Salesforce is number one on the planet, if you're developing a product, a supplement, clearly Salesforce is the first one you're going to go after.
Right.
Obviously, with Zapier nowadays, you can link a lot of things, but the seamlessness of Salesforce is beneficial.
Yeah.
So we use Salesforce. Go ahead.
Another thing that's really cool is that it's very customizable. Right. The fact that you can go in and add different fields. I mean, it's not necessarily super intuitive. Coming from somebody that hasn't been using it for, a long time, but it's cool that you can customize it. And I'm saying this because as you go in your search to what CRM should work for you or what CRM could work for you, I think that's a very, very important feature of the CRM. And some of them, particularly some of them that are maybe given to you by your company, might not be as customizable as others.
Yeah, it's 100% right. And so look, we use the CRM to keep track of our data. Who are we speaking to? Where did the referral come from? Who did we refer out? All those business sources, everything is in there. Details about the kids, the wives, the husbands, whatever.
Right.
So we use it for that. We also use it to automate our updates.
And that's the part that was critical for me, because if you actually take inventory, and we're always talking about running your real estate business as a business owner. One of the best books that I've ever read and that you turned me to was
E-Myth.
The E-Myth Revisited. That is an amazing book. It really talks about running a business and shifting that mindset, right? And when you take inventory of your sales cycle, when you take inventory of the communications that you have with clients, when you take inventory of when clients are asking you specific questions and at what point of entrance in a transaction, especially a transaction that's super important, that there's so many people involved, title agents, lenders, a lot of people are involved in the real estate transaction, and a transaction that's a longer sales cycle. It's very important to try to automate a lot of those communications so you save a lot of time as the listing agent or as the buyer's agent, but also so you give people the same great experience every single time. And that was critical for me when I started using the CRM.
It was, in the E-Myth, Michael Gerber, the author, talks about an experience he had with a barber.
Yeah.
And the story goes that he went in to get a haircut, this place for the first time, and he sat down and an assistant walked over and offered him beer, wine, coffee, water, soft drink. He got something to drink, and he sits down with the barber, and the barber only uses the scissor, doesn't use the little buzzer things, and explains why it's beneficial to just use the scissor. Washes it, gives him a great haircut. He likes it so much he schedules another appointment. Goes back a month later, whenever it is, and now the assistant was there but didn't offer him a drink. And the barber used the shears a little bit of time. Mostly scissors, a little bit of shears. Third time, he goes, still a great haircut. Third time he goes, and now the assistant offered him only water, and the barber used 3/4 shears and a little bit of scissor. And still got a great haircut.
Still a great haircut.
And I think that's the critical part of the story.
That's the punchline, yeah.
Still got a great haircut, but he didn't schedule another appointment because he wasn't in control of the experience he was having. And look.
And think about that. He wasn't in control of the experience. I think that's super powerful.
Yeah, so in our business, I do a loan for you. And I call you every Friday with an update. And you just love that.
Yeah.
Just, man, great.
I tell my coworker.
Coworker calls me. I'm doing the mortgage. Halfway through the mortgage, you're like, hey, bro, aren't those Friday calls great? And the guy goes, what Friday calls? You know, when Scott calls you with an update. No, I haven't gotten a call from Scott. You're now less likely to refer me because you don't know what you're walking people into.
Right.
And that's where automation comes in. And look, the way I built the automations, I know you know the story, but I think it's important because it shows the intentionality behind it.
Right.
I tracked for 2 months every time somebody called, who was calling, what were they calling about, and where in the process was it. And not surprisingly, there were some real trends. Like, you know, within a couple days of application, everybody started thinking about insurance quotes. About a week before closing, people were like, hey, have I heard from the title company yet? So they were set, so I tracked all this data. And look, it was work and it was a pain and blah, blah, blah. But this is doing it right? This is how they teach you an E-Myth.
Right.
So I tracked all of that. And then I set about with the goal of answering every question right before they were ready to ask it. So if 3 days in they were asking about insurance quotes, on day 2 they got an email about insurance quotes. If 8 days before closing they were asking about the title company, 9 days before closing I sent them an email about the title company or the attorney if you're in a lawyer state. So I took the time, a lot of work, but I took the time to put it all together. And then what happens is, like in Jungo, when the loan hits certain milestones, all I got to do is check a box. And when I check that box, some notifications go out immediately, some go out X days later, whatever it is. That's a customizable piece of it. But it keeps everybody informed. And the other nice thing is this. It takes away no, you told me.
Right. Because
there's no question what I told them because I have the email. And I have everything timed. You never updated me. Actually, on February 17th at 11:42 p.m., you got or 11:42 a.m.
And I want to touch on a couple things because, again, I have the pre-CRM life, the pre-CRM world, and the post-CRM world very fresh in my head. And the alternative to doing that, the alternative to doing what you're saying that was a very tedious work, is even worse because then as you get after you gain a little bit of success and you start getting busy, then it's way more tedious to have to make that phone call, to have to get all those questions, to have to get all those emails every single time with every single transaction. I have to manually write them and manually make them than to just do it once. And I know that you told me that for a long time, and
yeah.
I was pushing back, but that piece of it was fantastic. The other thing too is, look, a lot of times, and this happens when we get busy, silence is our worst enemy when it comes to our client. The absence of communication, it's awful because the way that we work, and this is not just for business, but this is in relationship, this is in everything. When there's silence, when there's void in the space, the mind, we just think of the worst case scenario.
Yes.
As a client, we think of the worst case scenario when we don't hear back from, you remember when we're waiting for that phone call after the first date or whatever. You're worried about that when you don't hear from the doctor, from the doctor's office when you go to do an exam. So this takes care of all of that, because then you get the communication, you get always the same communication every single time, and you control that communication. The other piece that I wanted to mention too is, look, a lot of times people want to push when they hear the word automation, right? And this is not about sounding like a robot. This is still you. We talk a lot in this podcast about going deep on who you are. And one of the things that I know was very important to me, and that we just recently changed all of our automations, is we really just took control of the communication and made it very, very much like the communications that we have. I know I came up to you and I say, hey, my automations are going to be silly videos. My automations are going to be memes. My automations, some of them are going to be extremely silly, because that's how I communicate with the client. And we changed them, and so far we've had great success with this. So, in this day and age, with a lot of my clients, even though at the beginning of the conversation I have a lot of very high level financial things, I also have little memes and little jokes and silly things. And we put all of that through Jungo, and it still gives them that great experience while an incredibly high personal touch.
Now, look, let me touch on this, because I think this is critical, and I think people tend to do this, and I think it's a big mistake. Don't spend one freaking minute thinking about the one-offs that aren't going to be happy. I had a client not that long ago who really doesn't like technology, or I had a client not that long ago that really wouldn't have found that funny. Look, screw it, okay? You can't, unless you want to do 2 deals a year. I think you got to go after the masses. Let your personality shine. Let the true you come through. And look, to go back to what you said on the scripting, and I talk about this in my seminars and stuff all the time. Here's the truth. A script isn't bad if you write the damn thing.
Right.
Okay? I'm not going to sell you a bunch of scripts, people, because it's my words and they'll sound weird coming out of your mouth.
Right.
But to take the concepts and turn them into your scripts, whether it's an automated email or a phone script or whatever the heck you want to call it. A script is nothing more than a pre-planned way of answering a question you're commonly asked.
But see, that's something that when you're writing, and this happened to me, when I was writing or when I was thinking about my first draft of what's going to be in my automation, it was a completely different feel than the way I actually talk to clients. And that's a mistake. It's my point. When you're doing this, make sure that the emails that you're writing for the automation, even though you're thinking this is going to go to everybody, this is going to go every single time, write them the way you write your normal email to clients. And trust me, people want the authenticity. People want to hear you. So don't make that mistake of thinking, hey, since this is going to be pre-recorded or this is going to be pre-written, then it needs to feel completely different than the way that you talk to clients. And maybe you talk to clients in a completely, super, super cold or distant
formal
way,
like
super formal way. Go formal, right? But, the way I do it is as the transaction, goes on, I warm up a little bit with clients and I start sending them pictures and memes and things like that are funny. And, 99% of the time they get great responses. So we added that and it's been great, man.
So, so you have the data collection piece of it. You have the automation. I mean, you can almost think of it as a part-time assistant.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes, absolutely. And by the way, the automation, the way that we have it set up is one click doesn't just send an email to one person. It sends an email to everybody.
Right.
So if there's something that you want to communicate to the lender, there's something that you want to communicate to the title, the attorney, and the buyer, all that, you can just do it with just one click.
Now let's talk about the third bucket of a CRM. And this is something that I am wildly passionate about. And people in the real estate and mortgage industries screw this up all the time. And I'm talking about tracking your numbers.
Right.
And I'm not talking about tracking how many deals you close.
Yeah.
Yes, that's one.
Right.
But we got to look at our lead to closing ratios specifically from each different avenue. Look, in our example, like we launched a massive consumer direct social media program
Right.
a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, whatever it was. And God, it's almost 2 years now. But I was able to go back and track my lead sources. I know last year I closed $7 million off of Facebook.
Right.
I have the data. I have the reports. I know during the months of July, August, and September, I closed 0.
Right.
I know specifically what ad. I know how many leads came in. I know what percentage of leads I spoke to, contacted, met with, applied with, everything. And you need that data.
And the cool thing with the CRM and having it all there is that even data that you don't know right now, that you don't even know you need, you have the ability to go back. And if you want to pull a report, for example, we were talking about this not a long time ago, is out of the people that we converted through Facebook, how many people came from the funnels that we have out there versus how many people came from just commenting and calling us directly from the videos. Well, having the CRM and having all that allows us to just go back and check on that with just a couple of clicks.
Yes, not to mention, you're doing a loan for somebody that works, or you have a new client you're starting to work with that is working for ABC Company. Right. You could do a search in your database of ABC Company and go, hey, do you know John Smith and Mary Johnson? And oh yeah, I did their, I helped them in the past as well. There's so much value to it on so many different fronts. But look, I understand the concerns. It's a big, daunting task. It's a new habit that has to be formed. But look, we have to do this because look, going back to your email comments, a business owner uses systems to build a business for tomorrow. And it just needs to be done this way if you want to do it right.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. If you are successful and you're not taking advantage of the CRM the way that you know that you should be taking advantage of the CRM, you're leaving a lot on the table. If you're not successful yet, and I'm sure you will because you're listening to this podcast, take advantage of the fact that you're not extremely busy right now and get into the CRM right now. Don't say, I'll just wait until I get busier. Don't say, well, I don't really need it right now for the level of production. Don't. Just jump in, because the thing with this is, as your business grows, these tasks become more and more daunting. It's a lot easier to start when you have a couple of clients than when you have hundreds and hundreds of clients that now you need to update and add into your CRM.
And you remember you and I talking about that. I kept telling you, bro, before you get busy, get this thing up and running, because look, you need to, if you want to run 100 deals a year, whatever the heck your number is.
If you want to live off of real estate.
Yeah.
Whatever that
fine.
number means to you.
You need to run your business today the way it needs to be run then. Because otherwise what happens is you have such growing pains. And I went through this miserable process. My business picked up. I did really well. I didn't have proper systems in place. I started dropping balls and my business dropped. And then I revamped and I did that for literally for years.
Right.
And then one day I'm like, oh, screw this. And, now again, back then technology, I was in the mortgage industry before the internet was a common thing. So, it's changed obviously tremendously. But the other thing that's nice now is the CRMs are cheap.
Yeah.
They're not. I mean, there's a lot of good CRMs out there. $10 a month, $30 a month.
Right.
You and I both know if you get it to $80 a month, you pay for everything.
Everything's
$80 a month.
Everything's $1,000 a year.
So look, I don't think a CRM is no longer an option. I think it is mandatory.
It's not.
And here's the next thing I would say. Learn it 100%. Whether you use it 100% or not is irrelevant. Before I launched Jungo, they have a video page on Vimeo. At the time, there's more now obviously, but at the time, there were 168 videos. I literally started at number 1 and watched 168 videos. Then I bought the program. Then I went back and rewatched the ones that were pertinent to me. But it gave me this incredible knowledge. And all the CRMs have private Facebook groups, or they have an ongoing training series. Please take them, because you'd be amazed what it could do. In fact, Jungo now, Salesforce, has something called Einstein, where Einstein it's an AI platform that will go through your database and literally find people that are slipping through the cracks and bring them to your attention. Hey, you haven't spoken to John Raleigh in a while. Dude, that's huge, man.
Right.
It's huge. So, look, that's what I got, man. I think a CRM is absolutely necessary today and tomorrow, even more so.
Yeah, guys, take action. Take action. The one thing I would say to all of that is when picking your CRM, when working through the automations and all that, make sure that they're multimedia. We're talking about tomorrow. Use video, use everything, and play with it. Just go there, play with it, look at different CRMs, schedule phone calls with different CRMs. That's free. Well, they give you a little sample of the CRM. They talk to you. They walk you through different things. And guys, look, just pick one. You don't have to do what he did and spend hours in the front end. Just pick one and start using it, because trust me, it's gonna dramatically change your business.
Yeah, look, a bad CRM is a shit ton better than no CRM.
Yeah.
And that's the case. So look, are you doing what you need to do today to be prepared for real estate of tomorrow? And that's the question you have to ask yourself. Those are the actions you have to take. A CRM has to be one of those actions.
That's it. Do it.
Mic drop. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening. Do me a favor. Go ahead, leave us a favorable review on everywhere, and
iTunes, wherever you're listening to this. Check out the Facebook group. Check out the Facebook page.
Share it, like it, comment it, all that crap.
Yeah, just listen to it again and again and again.
All right, everybody. We'll see you at the next episode. Mic drop.
Well, thank you guys for listening. And now it's your turn to implement everything you learned today.
Look, you have a question, you have a topic for a future episode?
Share with us.
Yeah, tell us what you're doing. What are you doing today so you could be successful tomorrow? Send us an email at success@realestateoftomorrow.com.
And don't forget to leave us a review, an honest review.
Screw an honest review. Leave us a 5-star review. And for every 5-star review we get, we're going to send you a badass Real Estate Meme t-shirt.
Those shirts are hilarious.
See ya.